Alright, let's try to determine relationships between lines. This is where the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, comes in really handy. You can immediately tell what the slope of your line is. But notice to be in slope-intercept form, like all of these examples are here, notice the y is all alone equal to everything else. Y is alone equal to everything else. You have to have it in that form before you can compare them. When it is in that form, if they have the same slope, then they are either parallel or exactly the same line. Okay, parallel lines have exactly the same slope. Okay, but they have to have different y-intercepts or else they end up being exactly the same line. So notice here, these are coinciding lines because everything is the same, which makes them exactly the same line. Here we have the same slope because we know our slope in the slope-intercept form is the m right here. Okay, but notice this number is different, which makes them different lines. They just have the same slope, so they are parallel. You'll know they're just intersecting if their slopes are different. So again, on any line equation that's written with y by itself equal to everything else, for example, y equals 7x minus 5, it's really easy to spot the slope. It's the number multiplied by the x. So let's determine if each of these lines are parallel, intersecting, or exactly the same line. That's what coinciding means, exactly the same line. Here's the first one. So first you compare the slope. Okay, notice these both have a slope of 3, so they could be either parallel or exactly the same line. We check the ending. The endings are different, so that means these are just parallel. They're not exactly the same line. Let's check our next pair of lines. Look at their slopes. They are different, so these are not parallel and they are not coinciding. Okay, they are intersecting. These ones actually specifically intersect in a particular way. These happen to be perpendicular. The reason I know that is because, like we talked in our previous lesson, perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So opposite signs, one's positive, one's negative, and the slopes are reciprocals of each other. 1/3, if you flip that over, that fraction over, gives you 3. Alright, let's take a look at this one. So we check out their slopes. One has a slope of -2, the other has a slope of 2. So these would just be intersecting. They have different slopes, so they cannot be parallel or coinciding. Alright, let's try this again. These are a little more challenging because notice our lines are not in the correct form. We want them to look like this so that we can compare their slopes. Like this means y by itself equal to everything else. So what we're going to do is take each of these lines, put them in that form, then we'll be able to compare them. So I'm going to start with that first line. And you follow the same process every time. So here's this first line. Let's put it in the correct form. First thing you're going to do is move your x value to the other side. So I have a positive 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x. Do the same on the other side so that you're moving the x to the other side. Now rather than combining the 8 and the x, we just write -2x plus 8. They're different terms. They're not like terms, so we can't combine them. And we're used to seeing the x first, so we're allowed to put it wherever. So we do. So the first thing you do when you're doing this is move the x to the other side. Then whatever is multiplied by the y, we need to get rid of that. So we do the opposite and divide everything by that number. So now I have -2 divided by -3 is a positive 2/3 and -8/3 on the end. Let's do the same with our second line. Okay, so we had 3x plus 2y equals 4. move the x first. It was a positive 3x, so to remove it, we'd have to subtract 3x. Do the same on the other side. That gives us 2y equals negative 3x plus 4. Now, whatever's multiplied by the y, we divide everything by that number, so we're going to divide everything by 2. Now our y is all alone, and we have negative 3 halves x plus 2. So here are our two equations in slope-intercept form. We're supposed to decide if they are parallel, coinciding, or intersecting. So look at the slopes. Now remember, the slope is the number multiplied by the x. So this has a slope 2/3. This has a slope of negative 3 halves. They are not the same number, so they're not parallel or coinciding. They are just intersecting. And again, these actually specifically are intersecting, they are perpendicular. Notice 2/3 and 3 halves are reciprocals of each other, and one is positive and the other is negative. Here's the next one. Okay? Again, these are not in the correct form. They don't have y all by themselves. So we have to set them up in the correct form. Let's take them one at a time and do that. So we have 2y equals 4x plus 1. Well, we already have moved the x to the other side. The only problem here is that the y is multiplied by 2. So to get rid of that, we do the opposite and divide by 2. And you have to divide everything by 2. 4 divided by 2 here gives me 2x, and the end I'm just going to leave as 1/2. Now let's do the next equation. X plus y equals 5. To get y by itself, our first step is to move that x. It was a positive x, so if I subtract it, that will move it to the other side. And I write it as negative x plus 5. Next, we would divide by whatever's multiplied by the y, but nothing's multiplied by the y. So this is all set up. Y is all by itself, and here, y is all by itself. Now we can compare the slopes, which again, when it's in this form, it's the number directly in front of the x. So our top one has a slope of 2. The bottom one has a slope of negative 1. The slopes are different, so these are intersecting. Anytime you have different slopes, you have intersecting lines. Okay, one more. Let's try this out. So again, we notice our lines are not in the correct form, so our first job is to put them in the correct form. Move the x first. We had a positive 3x, so I subtract 3x from both sides to move that over. That gives me 5y equals negative 3x plus 2. Now we have a number multiplied by y. We divide everything by that number. So that now y is all alone, and it's equal to negative 3 over 5x plus 2/5. This line is in proper form now, slope-intercept form. Let's do the next one. So 3x plus 6 equals negative 5y. Now, what do we notice about this? Well, notice the x and this number are already alone over here. The y is almost alone. It's just multiplied by negative 5. So all we're going to have to do is divide by negative 5. And y will be by itself, which is what we want. That gives me negative 3/5 x minus 6/5. Now notice this is in the right form. Y is all by itself, but it's just flipped around a little. So when you're looking for your slope, still look for that number that's multiplied by the x. Notice they're both negative 3/5. They both have a slope of negative 3/5. They have different y-intercepts. The number added on the end is different, so they're not the exact same line. They're not coinciding, but they are parallel because they have exactly the same slope, but different y-intercepts.